right, good morning, Blizzcon. That's pretty good. It's early, I know. Let's see if we can get a little louder, though. Come on, good morning, Blizzcon. Come on. Yeah. All right. Cool. Hope you guys are all having a good time. Hope you had a really good first day. We've got an awesome second day lined up for you. There's some great panels going on today. You should check those out for sure. Some tournament finals. Even if you're not into that game, you should go check it out. It's just fun to watch, and the crowd just really gets into it. That's pretty awesome. And then we have a closing ceremony with some band playing. Do you guys remember what the band was?
I don't remember.
Some band playing. Tenacity.
A D or a B or something.
Yeah. So I heard they're cool. You should check that out too. So yeah, we have Tenacious D at the end of the day. So that should be cool as well. Hopefully you guys are here to see how we make cinematics, because that's what we're going to talk about. Specifically, the cinematics for Cataclysm. Before we do that, I'd like to introduce the panel that we have today. To my left, I have Mark Messenger, who is actually the director of Cataclysm. This is Mark's Blizzard director debut. He was originally a storyboard artist for us, and we needed a new director. I used to direct a lot of the WoW pieces, and I moved over to StarCraft 2, so we pulled Mark in, and then he kicked ass at that. So. Next we have Seth Thompson. He's our environment modeling supervisor.
Morning.
Fun fact about Seth is I've known him for many, many years. He and I went to college together, and the first time we met, he offered to dance the robot for me. He's a little bit intoxicated, but it was awesome.
A little bit later, we'll do that.
All right, next we have
question and answer time. We'll do that.
Maybe at the Q&A you might be able to convince him. The Q&A. Sorry. Next we have Mike Kelleher. He's our visual effects supervisor. So as you guys have seen, the visual effects team just really kicked ass on this project. They earned a lot of achievements and leveled up and all that stuff. So I figured it made sense to bring him on here. And then finally we have Taryn Gregory, who seems to have a fan base right around here. Taryn came in from, we had two departments at Blizzard. One was the machinima department and one was cinematics. And cinematics started making in-game cinematics and machinima started making in-game cinematics, so we decided to merge the two. And Taryn's one of the directors from that team, and now we're all underneath the cinematics umbrella, I guess you could say. So Taryn's here to talk about some of the in-game stuff that you guys have seen over the year, and more specifically the ones that are in Cataclysm. And on top of that, since you guys are all here, you get a special treat. We're going to have the world premiere of one of the new in-game cinematics at this panel. And then myself, I'm Jeff Chamberlain. I've directed a few of the pieces that you're familiar with, but I'm really just going to hand it off to these guys. So, you want to take it away, Mark?
Sure. All right. Thanks, Jeff. All right. Thanks to all of you for coming out this morning. This is exciting. Well, as you probably can imagine, Blizzard is a fairly stimulating place to work. So what we're going to try to do today is pull back the curtain a little bit and hopefully convey some of the challenges and the fun of making a cinematic. So let's roll the clock back, if you would, to early 2009. We've got Chris and Rob and the game team all hanging with us in cinematics. And we're kicking around ideas for the Cataclysm intro. Chris rolled out the core concepts behind the expansion, and he got us pretty excited. As you can imagine, he's very good at that. The basic premise, we have, if I can get my clicker going, there we go. We have this very intense black dragon holed up in a very dark place, and he's stewing in a blind rage until that anger reaches flashpoint, and he's got to bring the pain to the world of Azeroth. And the destruction that he unleashes reshapes the world, right? Now, one of the first questions that we always have to deal with when we start a WoW intro is, are we going to do a montage or not? That approach has served us very well in the past, and it's a pretty natural way of showcasing an MMO. But but the Wrath of the Lich King cinematic had been a narrative story, and we had all really loved doing that as well. So I was pretty pleased to see that the consensus seemed to be that we could do both. We could have the effect of a montage or a travelogue of showcasing different lands, but we could try to couch that in a narrative story of Deathwing gearing up to wreak havoc. So, so we all left that first meeting feeling pretty in sync about what we were going to try to accomplish. Cinematics, we started doing some, designs and early sketches, but pretty quickly we realized there were some big questions to answer, and one biggest ones was which lands are we going to break, right? We were kind of like, yeah, all of them. We were kind of like kids in a candy store. We were like, can we do Darkshore? What do you got? Can we do Orgrimmar? What's going on? Dare we say Stormwind? We had we did boards I can show you for all kinds of destruction. We had, let's see, lava boiling out of Ironforge there, or Firestorm through Thunder Bluff, or there's the Stone Talon Mountains exploding. I think we briefly considered setting the World Tree on fire, but we didn't go for that. Anyway, the game team was super helpful in sorting this all out with us. We did have some criteria for making those decisions. Number one, level of recognition. We really did want to depict places that hopefully you guys would recognize. Number two, balance, because we felt an obligation to share the pain between the Alliance and the Horde. And three, what we call the cool factor, which is really just the strength of the image itself. The tidal wave looming over Booty Bay, that was an image where everybody just said, yeah, that sounds really cool, blowing up a Zeppelin over Orgrimmar, sounds great, let's do it. Deathwing on the gates of Stormwind, absolutely. As soon as that idea came up, there was no doubt that we were going to do that. That was the second of our really big questions, and that's a thornier one, right? Which races do we want to feature? In the beginning of our process, we usually have this blue sky period where all ideas are welcome, and we talked a lot about Night Elves and Darkshore, Orcs and Orgrimmar, the disaster movie concept of people fleeing from the destruction, right? We even had the idea of staging an Alliance Horde battle out in front of the Greymane Wall right before the wall falls down. But what we kept coming back to was that this is really Deathwing's story. This is Deathwing versus the world, essentially, and ultimately that's the path that we chose to follow. We did, however, there's Deathwing, got ready to destroy the world. But we did, however, really want to show the new playable races, the Goblins and the Worgen. The image of the Goblins evacuating their erupting island just sounded, so mournful and visually rich, with the boats all steaming away. And I'm personally a big werewolf movie fan, so for me, the idea of worgen streaming out of the Greymane Wall was very appealing. And you can see these storyboards here show how we plan to make those introductions. So why didn't we, right? Well, we usually cast a pretty wide net story-wise at first, and then we go back in and we prune and we refine. And what we kept asking ourselves was, what is essential? What is key? Deathwing devastates Azeroth, gotta have that, right? So as a test, I went back to the animatic and just clipped out that Goblin Worgen section and pulled the two halves of the edit together. And honestly, you guys, it just worked right out of the gate. It felt cleaner, it felt more focused. One thing is that we always knew we had in our pocket the option to do these introductions in gameplay. And when we get to Terran's part of the discussion, I think you're going to see that what his team was able to do with those intros was way more expansive than what we had planned. So it all worked out really well in my view. And frankly, this movie was called Cataclysm. So we felt the need to really bring the Cataclysm. We had a lot on our plate as it was. Anyway, while all that was going on, our team of intrepid concept artists was trying to answer the next big question, which is, what does Deathwing look like? Now, Deathwing had been pretty well established in lore, of course, the novels, but he'd never actually been depicted visually in that much detail. I mean, everybody knows the little thumbnail and some of the cool Chris Metzen drawings, but to have a really comprehensively epic design for Deathwing, that was one of our top priorities. Again, we we had this brief blue sky period where we encouraged the concept artists to go crazy and just draw all kinds of cool dragons. We wanted Deathwing to be, nasty and aggressive and unique looking, but we also looked very hard at Syndragosa and the other WoW dragons because we wanted Deathwing to have their DNA, to feel like part of that family. Let me see what else we got going here. Ah, yes, Deep Home. Cinematics was also encouraged to take point on developing the look of Deathwing's lair in Deep Home, since that portion of the game was still in the early stages of development. It usually takes us about a year to do a WoW intro, so we need to get out in front of the game as soon as possible. In this case, the idea that developed was that millennia ago, the Titans had created this majestic chamber defined by these towering columns, and it was beautiful until Deathwing showed up and basically defiled the place with his presence. Once again, the game team gave us a lot of help in designing the look of this place, including, let me get to it because it's really cool. My clicker doesn't want to advance to that. Maybe the secret clicker could help. Isn't that a cool one, by the way? There we go. There we go. We also have creative development. There we go. There we go. We got these designs actually from the game team itself. And the beautiful designs for the cranes and the battering rams that are used to hammer plates into Deathwing's skin. Speaking of Deathwing, let me see if I can get this next one up here. I want to show you this cool concept that came from creative development. This guy represented something of a turning point for us. You can see certain details which made it into the final design, but what this guy really represented for us was an attitude. This guy here, he just looks tough and battle-scarred and kind of crazy. So this gave us something of a compass heading to steer by. We were also really excited about this idea that Deathwing's rage manifests itself literally as this boiling lava inside him. He is the Earth Warder, so like the Earth itself, he's full of the stuff, and he actually needs these metal sutures or plates to hold that molten fury in and contain it. This design here is an example of that concept. Everything was going pretty well, but we were still looking for something else, something signature that would set Deathwing apart from the other dragons. Now, over the course of the Warcraft saga, Deathwing's armor has been retrofitted and replenished numerous times. So for this incarnation, we thought about doing something with the jaw. And initially we went back to this guy here and just started cribbing metal jaws onto it. It was kind of like, well, okay, that's kind of cool. What if we just made it bigger? And so we just kept making the jaw bigger. Until we got to this point and decided, okay, let's show it to the game team. And the immediate reaction was, oh yeah, that's him. That's our guy. Now, there was still a ton more design work to do. I mean, check out all these variations. We were looking for just the right silhouette, the right combination of body style, wing height, neck length. But for me personally, that moment when we saw Deathwing's face in that meeting, that was very, very cool. Design is cool. It's super fun. But as these guys will attest to, it's only the beginning of the process, right? I mean, it's one thing to draw cool stuff, and it's quite another to